I've become a sports reporter. It's kind of fun.
You've become a sports reporter.
Yeah. I just, whatever's hot right now, just get into it. Lane Kiffin, the Egg Bowl. I figured Jeremy and I could just have a Ole Miss, Mississippi State hate week.
Right.
I mean,
you're in a better shape for that than I am right now, Russ.
Well, we'll see, won't we? I mean, there's a lot of distraction going on up in Oxpatch right now.
I mean, everything that I see on social media right now is Lane Kiffin. So who knows where he's going to end up? Hopefully, I mean, I'm hoping he stays in Oxford.
Well, yes. I mean, it's good, obviously, for Ole Miss, but I think it's good for the state of Mississippi for him to be there. I think a lot of Ole Miss people, though, are ready for some clarity.
Yeah, it's the not knowing, I think, is killing everyone, the anxiousness. But Sean was on with me yesterday, Russ, and we talked about you a little bit and about how you're just kind of all over the place. We see you popping up everywhere. And he said you're kind of like, San Diego, like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? So
yeah. So I told Sean that I'm secretly a spy, which is like, it's a really good cover to say that you're secretly a spy if you are one.
Yeah, Russ, I think you're more like a garden gnome. So I look for you out in my backyard every time when I let the dogs out in the mornings. I just
and I'm often back there too.
I know.
The pictures that I've captured, man, one day will make for great blackmail material.
That's right. We'll get in line with that one.
Well, you both were recently in Israel. You both took trips to Israel. And so I wanted to get you guys on to kind of talk about what you felt like when you were there. And Israel's just been a huge topic of conversation everywhere on social media, in the news, politically. And so knowing that you guys were there and you have kind of a firsthand account of what you got to see and experience, I would love for you to share some of that with our listeners.
Well, I will defer first to the senator from the Gulf Coast.
Right. Well, thank you, Russ. And Lindsey, it's a great question. And thank you for having us on to talk about this. This was my first trip to Israel, as you both probably know, but maybe some of your listeners don't know. Back in February of last year, we started the Mississippi Israel Legislative Caucus. And the purpose is to help foster and keep good relations between the state of Mississippi and the state of Israel. And to point out why that's important, look, we had like 40 million in trade back in 2022 or 2023, and that's going up to like 60 million now. It's just growing. Our defense sector and our defense industry that we're really big here, especially on the coast and in Columbus and other parts of Mississippi, we do a lot of trade with Israel. But it's also important to understand that that's our biggest ally in the Middle East, which is a part of the world where we need allies probably more so than anywhere else. And getting to go over there and see firsthand how these people live, the people in Israel, learning that, look, Israel is it's a secular country. We think it is a Jewish state, and that's what Zionism is all about, is a return for Jews to that part of the world. But it's a secular state. They recognize things like the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, things that we believe in. They're very strong-willed. They're very strong-minded people over there, and they're fighting constantly. They're sending their sons and daughters off to war to fight against an enemy that is a common enemy of ours. And seeing that was very eye-opening. Look, I could talk forever on this, but I want to kind of stop and let Russ say a few things, and then we can jump into it. It was a great trip, I'll say that. I was very impressed with the people over there. They reminded me a lot of Mississippians, very hospitable, and it's kind of unfair the way that they're kind of perceived by so many people. And I didn't see that until I got home. I know we'll kind of get into that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my trip was a little different than Jeremy's. I was invited by a group called the American Israel Education Foundation. Really, it was a trip with a lot of like journalists and think tank type people. So I wasn't over there doing any sort of diplomatic mission or anything like that. I'm not actually a spy, despite my joke earlier.
Be careful what you say.
Yeah, somebody will clip it, and then I will become a spy. That's all right. So it really, I think Jeremy hit on something, though. What I saw over there, at least when you're talking about modern day politics, is a real frustration with the way the media has covered October 7th and what happened after October 7th. In a lot of ways, and we got to talk to members of the Knesset, which is their Congress, both the opposition party and the coalition government, Benjamin Netanyahu's government. And we got to talk to a lot of military leaders, business leaders, civic leaders. And there was consistency, even amongst people who politically disagree with each other, and real frustration that the world didn't know the depth of depravity of what happened on October 7th, and also that the world doesn't really appreciate the level of threat that surrounds the nation of Israel on all sides, because we have this sort of Western view, which is that, hey, you know, if the people who are mad at Israel just had a little bit more land or they had more economic opportunity, then suddenly we could have peace. And to some degree, the White House has this view. And the reality is, if you look at the charter of Hamas from 1988, if you look at the Shia 12er movement, if you look at everything that surrounds them, whether you're talking about Shia or Sunni extremist groups in the Middle East, their motivation is not economic prosperity. Their motivation is not more land. Their motivation is the elimination of the state of Israel and the extermination, in some cases, of all Jewish people across the globe. The 1988 Hamas charter says that very explicitly. There have been imams who have said that very explicitly. The Shias in Iran believe that in order for their Mahdi, their Messiah, to come back, Israel has to be wiped off the face of the map. And so they are fighting for their very right to exist. And at some level, I think the Western world downplayed the level of depravity that occurred on October 7th, and then has just bought into this idea that there's the potential for peace if only Israel gives up more. Israel gave up land after the 1967 war that they won. The Sinai Peninsula they gave back to Egypt, as an example. They gave up Gaza, right? Ariel Sharon in 2005 unilaterally said, we're going to remove every bit of our settlement from Gaza, and you have this land, your own autonomous zone, right? And it hasn't worked. Rocket attacks continue. Terrorism attacks continue. And what you saw on October 7th was literally 1,200 plus Israeli civilians, men, women, and children, that were innocent civilians who were murdered, raped, beheaded, took hostage. And it was all part of a strategy, candidly, to invite the kind of response that Israel gave, because they view that, Hamas specifically views that, as a way to win the PR war. And to some degree, they've been right.
So when you guys were there, and Jeremy, I know you posted something about this, but when you were there, do you feel like it's kind of a constant state of fear? Are they constantly afraid that someone's going to attack? Did you feel safe there? What was that like?
Yeah, look, I absolutely felt safe there. It was obvious. Look, I had to go get into a bomb shelter 2 times while I was there, but the people that were there, the Israeli citizens, you're kind of calm just being around them. I mean, it's almost an everyday occurrence for them, and they're used to it. And look, the thing that surprised me most, I think I would say, after looking at the media and what you expect when you get over there, the Israelis are made up of Jewish people, of course, but they also have Arabs, and they have Christians, they have other people that live there, and they're all living there pretty much in harmony. As a matter of fact, people don't know this, but there are Russ mentioned the Knesset, which is their Congress. I had a chance to go there as well. I think it's their third largest political party, is an Arab political party. And so they're actually even represented in the government over there. And people just don't understand that. They think that it's just this Jewish stronghold. That it's a religious state and it's there, but it's absolutely not. And that was something that was surprising to me. I was surprised with how safe I felt when we walked around Tel Aviv one of those evenings. It was like walking on any other Mediterranean villa, which I've never walked through. But I mean, you see them on TV, and they have these cafes with the tables and the people sitting out and enjoying, a bottle of wine or some. I had some of the best ice cream I've ever had from an ice cream parlor over there, and I felt completely safe walking through there. So it's what we think of as just being a total war zone over there and everything being terrible. It's not the case. It's people living in harmony and getting along. And like Russ said, if this radical Islamic group that surrounds them, which really does completely surround them, if that wasn't there, it would be a much different place.
Well, and I just say this, I felt safe there as well. And we went all over. So we went down to the Gazan envelope. We literally were half a mile away from the fence. We went to the site of the Supernova Musical Festival where all those kids were massacred,
Right.
which, by the way, is an incredibly somber and moving experience. They have 2 whole fields worth of makeshift memorials of pictures of the people who were slain there and some of their stories. what they were studying, what their hopes and dreams were. They were there to have a good time and party the way that American teenagers and college kids would party, and face something that nobody would ever expect or want for anybody. But we felt safe the entire time. We went up to the Golan Heights, which is the northern part of Israel that borders Lebanon and Syria. I will give you this anecdote. The Israelis have a very good sense of humor that's sort of grounded in the fact that they deal with this stuff all the time. So while we were at the Syrian border, we were talking to a member of the IDF that was on the border wall, and he invited us close to the border, and he said, "Don't worry, you won't get shot," which is always what you want to hear when you're on a trip.
Yeah.
And then he paused for a while, and he said, "At least not by us." And, and he was joking. But I will tell you, like, we went to Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, we went to Galilee, we went to the Dead Sea. In none of those experiences did I ever feel any more unsafe than I would have felt walking around Memphis or New Orleans or Jackson, and candidly felt safer than what I would have in those cities. The other thing I'd say is that's really important that people understand, and I just want to reinforce something Jeremy said, is that population is 75% Jewish in Israel. So it's not 100% Jewish. And of that 75%, there are varying degrees of intensity when it comes to religious affiliations. There are a lot of secular Jews in Israel, as an example. And then it very much is a democracy where 20% of the country is Arab and Muslim, and they are represented in the Knesset, right? They are there. They're a part of the functioning democracy. And to the extent we care about that sort of concept of democracy, it is the only functioning democracy in the Middle East. It also happens to be pivotally important strategically when it comes to trade, because ultimately, if Israel falls and if Egypt, as an example, were to fall back into the hands of the Muslim Brotherhood, we would lose important trade routes like the Suez Canal that are really, really important to the American economy and, candidly, the global economy.
Yeah, those are all great points. And we got to take a break. But when we get back, I want to get your guys' opinion on what you think about how exactly Israel's kind of being portrayed. I mean, influencers are talking about Israel all the time. Then there's this America First movement that we've seen with Trump's back in the White House, and we have a lot of politicians who have run on this America First movement. So I want to get your opinions on what you think that kind of has meant for Israel and the American people. Have our minds changed on what we think about Israel? So y'all stay with us. We're going to take a break real quick, but we will be right back here on the Lindsey Beckham Show, where we have got Senator Jeremy England and Russ Latino of the Magnolia Tribune telling us all about their recent visit to Israel. Stay with us.
In our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
Where do you stand in the pro-life community? If you're passionate about protecting the sanctity of life from fertilization to natural death, please join us at Pro-Life Mississippi as we make a difference and save lives right here in our own state. Pro-Life Mississippi is a community of individuals dedicated to equipping others to value all human life, including the preborn, those with disabilities, and the elderly. Our mission is simple: to provide unwavering support, education, and advocacy for the preborn, their families, and other vulnerable children and adults. If you're just starting your pro-life journey or you have been an advocate of life for many years, Pro-Life Mississippi needs your voice and talents to save lives in Mississippi. Together, we can make a difference in building a stronger pro-life Mississippi. Learn more about us at prolifems.org. That's prolifems.org. Be part of the community that celebrates each and every human life.
Looking for the perfect spot to unwind with friends and family? El Patrio Mexican Restaurant is calling your name. With locations in Flowood and Cross Gates, Brandon, El Patrio is the cozy, family-owned gym where great food meets great times. Enjoy El Patrio's signature margaritas and happy hour specials that keep their customers coming back for more. Indulge in their authentic Mexican dishes prepared with love and served in a warm, family-friendly atmosphere. Come to El Patrio and taste the traditions. El Patrio, where family, flavor, and fun come together.
This is Jack Hoffman. For nearly 31 years, Tico's Steakhouse has been a staple of fine dining in Jackson, Mississippi. Dad has long since desired for me to come work alongside him. And now that I'm here, I would like to invite you to come experience our family tradition of our hospitality, steaks, and healthy poured beverages. Our dining rooms are open and we are taking reservations. Our private rooms are also available along with takeout. Call today or stop in and experience Tico's in the second generation.
Tico's Steakhouse, East County Lime Road in Ridgeland, 601-956-1030.
UrgeVet Emergency Vets Madison has been serving your pets for 5 years now. From late night emergencies to weekend worries, we have been here caring for your pets when your regular vet isn't available.
From the moment you walk in the door, our team of veterinary professionals is here to care for your pets at all hours of the night, on weekends and holidays. Located at 15 Olympic Way in Madison. Call us at 601-790-1918. UrgeVet, always here when your pet needs us most.
Come together.
We are back here on the Lindsey Beckham Show, where we are joined by Senator Jeremy England and Russ Latino, who both recently visited Israel. And with Israel being such a hot topic politically in the news and the media, with social media influencers recently, I wanted to have you two on to kind of explain, your firsthand opinions and views of what you saw and felt when you were there. And Russ and I were talking in the break, and, I think we've never seen in America the pro-Hamas take like we are seeing today. So many people in support of basically a terrorist organization. So did anybody talk about that? Any of the people from Israel talk to you guys about that when you were there?
No, absolutely. And let me correct a little bit of a misnomer, because I think this is common in Western thought, which is that what happened on October 7th was a terrorist attack. What happened on October 7th was an armed invasion by an army. And so Hamas is the elected government of Gaza. The leader of Hamas had a strategic plan for many years for this invasion to occur. He thought Hezbollah from Lebanon was going to attack at the same time, and he thought that the Ring of Fire in the West Bank, which that there would be an internal uprising in Israel at the same time. That didn't come to fruition, which is why they weren't ultimately successful. But October 7th was an armed invasion. Now, it just so happened that 2,200 Gazan civilians followed Hamas's army into Israel, and they systematically burned their fields, burned their farm equipment because they were going to starve them. They systematically raided weapon stores around the Gazan envelope because they were going to try and disarm the people and their ability to fight back. They systematically killed, beheaded, and raped people. IDF, when they went into Gaza, found garages with the motorcycles that were used by Hamas, and they had rape kits attached to those motorcycles, Viagra, lubricant, condoms that were brought over. They shoved knives up into women's genitalia. They shot off men's penises and testicles. They cut off one man's testicles and shoved them down his throat. This was not Geneva Convention warfare, but this was the declaration of war that the people of Israel had every right to respond to. If you look at it from a proportionality standpoint, America got attacked on 9/11. 3,000 civilians were killed in America. And we went over into Afghanistan and Iraq, regardless of whether you think that was the right thing to do. And 400,000 people died in Afghanistan and Iraq. And nobody went around saying that America didn't have the right to respond. Very few people went around claiming it was genocide. Israel is the only nation on the face of the planet that can face the kind of attack they did on October 7th, which proportionally was worse than 9/11, 1,200 people and a nation of 10 million that were killed, and not be able to prosecute a war in response to that. So understand that Hamas very much wants to eliminate Israel from the face of the map. Their charter very much said that they want to kill Jews. And so, yeah, I think there's tremendous frustration on the part of Israelis that people just don't understand what they're up against. Now, what I think happened in America is two things. I think there's this sort of critical theory that was on the far left in college campuses. Intersectionality is another way to describe it. It's got its roots in Marxism that said that we're gonna weigh people based on oppressor versus oppressed framework. And the way that we decide who is in the oppressed category at some level is the level of melanin in their skin. And so that on college campuses, Hamas's cause became one that was worthy of celebration, one of vindication, because they happen to be browner than the people in Israel, irrespective of the morality of what had happened. And that's horrible. And then on the right, we see this sort of rising groper movement that it's all conspiracy theory. It's people that don't get out and touch grass. It's people who are living in their mama's basement who are candidly becoming anti-Semitic. Now, I want to carve out from those two extremes what I will call the American First agenda, right? Mm-hmm. So America First at some level is let's not engage in every conflict across the globe.
Right.
Let's be strategic only when America's interests are really involved, right? That's a very different sort of analysis than the anti-Semites that are on the far right and candidly the sort of race-baiting intersectionality that took place on college campuses on the far left. And if you want to have a rational conversation about what is in America's interest, that's the debate that we should be having in America, not this debate amongst loonies.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, just to kind of, Lindsey, I'm sorry to jump in so quickly here, but I agree with that. I think that at some point, folks have tried to make America first mean isolationism, and it's not that. America first means whatever's in America's best interest. At least that's my opinion. And look, Russ mentioned the group that sent him over to Israel. It was the foreign ministry that brought us over. I was on a trip with 250 other state legislators when we went over there. And look, they're just now it's just over 2 years, but at the time they were just shy of 2 years since this October 7th terrorist attack. And so they're really close to this event. And you think about where we were after 9/11, in 2001, and we were in Mississippi and we felt attacked. We were worried here. Where they're never any more than an hour and a half or 2 hours away, or maybe 5 hours, depending if you're very top to the very bottom, from one point to the other of their entire country. So it's a smaller area. There's only between 9 and 10 million people there, and they're relatively close to this event happening. And look, so this is what I found. You have liberals over there and you have conservatives over there, just like you have over here. You have people who support Bibi Netanyahu and you have people that don't. You have, but what you have is you have all those people kind of coming together and say, hey, we were attacked. Like Russ so aptly described, we went down to the Gaza envelope and saw some of the things that happened, and it's terrible. And it was civilians that they were attacking and killing. One lady in this community, this kibbutz we went and visited, was a lady that she got with two other ladies in her community. They drove down into the Gaza Strip and would pick up people that needed specialty care, like in a bigger hospital in Jerusalem, and she would drive them up free of charge, let them get treatment, which, by the way, was sometimes by Jewish doctors and sometimes by Arab doctors. And I kind of want to get into that here in a minute if we can. But and then she would drive them back. Well, this lady was killed during the October 7th terrorist attack. She was a Canadian-born Israeli citizen that was Jewish that went over there and was helping everyone. Okay. And you see them living together like that, and that gets lost. And the thing that the foreign ministry said to me and said to our entire group, and we heard from Bibi Netanyahu, we heard from the speaker of the Knesset, and everybody said, listen, we know we're losing the PR battle, but they're stuck in the middle of a fight. Like Russ said, they were attacked. They were defending themselves. They were trying to respond to this attack. Who has time to care about a PR fight at that time? Well, when you have Israel and you have nations like Iran and China and Russia and the folks that would join in on them, and then the social media, which is where we get our stuff, and it's so easy to get into the algorithms and make it look like one side is just committing genocide to the other. And that's what happened. I had the people ask me, very young people in Israel said, why are y'all not paying attention? Why, are you guys the only ones that support us? Is that why they brought the 250 of you over here to kind of show us what's happening? Why are we losing that? And it was very sad, because I had to tell them, like, look, you're seeing the fringes, you're seeing what's going on social media, but you have support over there. I like what George W. Bush said when he visited. He told him, he said, look, y'all may only be, I think it was 7 million strong at the time. He said, look, you may only be 7 million strong, but with the United States, you're 307 million strong. And that's important for them to hear, because they're surrounded by 400 million in the other countries around them that are led by people that want to see them wiped off of the map.
Yeah, I think, it's important too. And Lindsey, forgive me for Jeremy and I are just ping ponging back and forth
that's
here.
what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear your opinion.
It's important too to understand that Sinwar, who was Hamas's leader, is now dead. But Sinwar's plan, like I said, was multiple years long. And he very clearly envisioned Israel's response. So Sinwar had been a prisoner of Israel. And he was one of 1,000 that got let go in exchange for one Israeli soldier that Hamas had captured years before. And what he had figured out was that the Israeli people, and this is true, and we just saw it in the ceasefire, they got like 20 people back in exchange for letting 2,000 Hamas fighters out. Mm-hmm. The Israeli people care an awful lot about their hostages in a way that Americans probably wouldn't, by the way.
Yeah.
Even dead hostages, they really want the remains back. And so they will give massive amounts in exchange for getting those hostages back. So Sinwar knew that was part of his strategy. It's why they took 250 hostages on October 7th. He knew he was going to get a lot released. He ultimately did get 2,000, including about 250 hardened killers back in the ceasefire that just got hammered out. The other part that he understood and he was smart about, Gaza's a relatively small place, but he very purposefully built military installations under schools and under hospitals, knowing that there would be human shields, knowing that there would be casualties. This is all in writing. This isn't Russ's conjecture. This is in his own writing that has been captured. He knew that those places either would have to get left alone and their military would stand strong, or they would have to get attacked and civilians would die. And Sinwar himself wrote that they would be necessary sacrifices. That's a direct quote in the PR war that would come, because they believe in something called asymmetrical warfare. They actually like the idea that more of their own people were killed than what they killed in the initial attack, because it gets the world on their side. And it's part of a strategy that candidly dates back to Iran and the Qasem Soleimani. He had a 10-year plan for the very same thing to happen to Israel. So just understand that there's a much bigger plan at play here. The other thing I just say really briefly that Jeremy hit on, we talked about the diversity of Israel's population. I got to meet a police officer who was at Supernova the day of the attack. And he was there as security. He was hired security. I think he got paid 1,000 shekels, which is like $300 to be there overnight in that morning.
Goodness.
And he had a 9mm pistol, and for several hours exchanged gunfire with people with Kalashnikovs and RPGs. He was able to get 300 Israelis out. He commandeered a car and went back and forth for 3 hours and got 300 Israelis out that day. Now, you might look at it and go, well, that's one proud Israeli Jew. He's a Bedouin Muslim, right? And his message, because I said, like, if we go back to America, what's one thing you want them to understand? And his message was, when Hamas came in, they killed Jewish people and Muslim people indiscriminately, and it was Jewish people and Muslim people who fought back for Israel. And so people need to understand that, yes, on one side, there is religious extremism, but in the state of Israel, there actually was a degree of unity across religions that said, we need to be able to protect our own people.
Right. You have to be on the same, all on the same team when you're being attacked. We got to take our next break, but when we get back, I want to talk about the rise that we've seen in anti-Semitism, even right here in America, in the United States, and how do we combat that? So y'all stay with us. We'll be right back with Senator Jeremy England and Russ Latino.
here to 103.9 WYAB.
Pure Air Consultants has always been your go-to for reliable and affordable heating and cooling systems, and now we are offering Day and Night brand to avoid the 25 to 30% increases that everyone is talking about. With Day and Night, Pure Air Consultants professionals can install a reliable system with a 10-year system warranty, and right now receive $20 off on service diagnostic fees. Call us today, 601-939-7420, mypureairconsultants.com.
Friday night lights, family, and a hot Johnny's Pizza House pizza on the table. Now, that's our kind of hunt. Make it a sweep the kitchen and bring everyone together. Johnny's Pizza House. Let's share a slice. Here in the South, we keep our football loud and our pizza loaded. Grab a Johnny's Pizza House, sweep the kitchen, and cheer on your hometown team. Johnny's Pizza House. Let's share a slice.
Nick Bain served Mississippi for over a decade in the State House. During that time, he fought for our children by protecting them against explicit materials pushed by the woke agenda. He protected taxpayers by streamlining government and helped create policies that have made Mississippi better. Nick and his team at Bain Bowen will use the same tenacity in helping you with all your legal matters. Call them today at 601-953-2994. Find Nick online at bainbowen.com. That's BAIN Bowen.com.
CBS News Brief. Ukraine's president told his citizens today the country's at a critical point with a new U.S. peace proposal on the table to end the war with Russia. President Trump on Fox Radio says there's a Thanksgiving deadline for Zelensky.
If things are working well, you tend to extend the deadlines, but Thursday is, we think, an appropriate time.
Trump will host New York City's mayor-elect at the White House shortly. CBS's Finn Gomez.
There is a hope that cooler heads will prevail and they can find common ground on an issue that both ran and won on in their respective races. That issue is affordability.
An Ohio officer's been acquitted of all charges after fatally shooting Takia Young in a supermarket parking lot. The pregnant black mother had been accused of shoplifting. The Young family's attorney, Sean Walton.
The burden is high for murder already. It's even higher when an officer is involved.
On Wall Street at this hour, stocks are higher. The Dow is up 563 points. CBS News Brief. I'm Tammy McCormick.
Hi, this is Casey Seymour from Hometown Hardware in Flora. Whether you're setting up a new spot or restocking for the season, we've got everything you need for the hunt right here at home. We've got ground blinds, shooting houses, feeders, food plot mixes, attractants, and much more. And it's not just the products. It's the hometown service you just won't get anywhere else. So before you head out to the woods, stop by your locally owned, locally trusted Hometown Hardware at 1085 Highway 49 in Flora, Mississippi.
Hey guys, this is Casey Ellis with Ellis Autoplex, located on Highway 471 in Brandon. Ellis Autoplex, known as Little Truck City, is your old school mom and pop style dealership that's family owned and operated. We specialize in 4-wheel drive trucks, but don't worry, we have cars and SUVs too. Looking to sell your vehicle? Bring it by Ellis Autoplex, where we pay fair market value and we cut you a check on the spot. Need your vehicle service or repair? We can handle that too. Shop us online or set your appointment at ellisautoplex.com. That's ellisautoplex.com.
The Tri-County Academy Rebels' success in the classroom and on the athletic stage begins with the Tri-County Academy Booster Club. Join the team and be a Rebel by getting involved and volunteering as a booster. Your involvement is the generator for fundraisers, facility upgrades, equipment, uniforms, and all other needs. Tri-County Athletics thrives in part because of our TCA boosters. Join today by calling the TCA main office at 601-879-8517 and help the Rebels continue the championship tradition.
Business owners, tired of drowning in payroll, compliance, and back office headaches? P-Police has your back. P-Police can free you from the never-ending grind of employee administration, such as time and attendance, onboarding, background checks, even business insurance. While you focus on growing your business, P-Police handles the paperwork. Stop stressing and start succeeding. Partner with P-Police, locally based in Ridgeland. Visit ppolice.com and get back to business.
If you want the best health care, where do you go? The Mayo Clinic. If you want the best care for your vehicle, where do you go? Mayo Auto Clinic in Raymond. Mayo Auto Clinic does foreign and domestic vehicles and diesel repair. Mayo Auto Clinic has ASE certified techs with over 25 years of experience. You can extend the life of your car or truck when you take it to Mayo Auto Clinic. For cost-effective repairs and maintenance, go to the best, Mayo Auto Clinic. Open weekdays at 7 a.m. Highway 18 in Raymond.
Come together right now.
All right, we are back here on the Lindsey Beckham Show, where we are joined by Russ Latino and Senator Jeremy England. Now, Jeremy, you caught some hate after your trip to Israel. Tell us about that.
I did. Yeah. And look, it wasn't unexpected from the left. I think it was a little bit unexpected from some on the right of the political spectrum. And look, it all started when I published a picture of the group of 4 other legislators that I visited with from Mississippi. We got to plant a tree in solidarity with Israel over there at a park in the Gaza envelope. We had the Mississippi state flag there. And while we were around there, I figured, look, this is a good opportunity for me to share with people that I'm over here. And boy, the negative comments started really hitting pretty quickly. And this was on a day where I had seen the areas that have been attacked and things that are going. So I was already in a very heavy spot emotionally, having seen that. And I'll tell you, the house I went into that we visited that was attacked had a boy. The family had a boy that was 15 years old, brown eyes, same haircut as my son, who's also 15. So I mean, it hit me right in the heart seeing where this boy had died and in these attacks. And then I'm starting to see these things. I'm like, oh, of course, the left has hit me. And I get to scrolling through them and no, it's people from the Libertarian Party in Mississippi who published something that said, hey, you guys need to throw this guy out. He's bought and paid for by Israel, which is a really funny thing to say to somebody like me. I've never had any money come in my way from that. And you know, look, if I actually had $1 for any time I was accused of being bought and paid for, I could buy a bigger house. But that surprised me. It surprised me, number one, because, you know, if I started talking about the reasons we need to be friends there with Israel, I would get hit with this. Well, you're not America first. You're
Right.
worried about this other country. And then the flip side was, and I tried to keep religion out of it because it even though I'm a Christian and I believe in supporting Israel, some people don't look at it that way. Well, then they started attacking it from that front, which is really odd to me. They said, well, look, these aren't real Jews over there. These are fake Jews. These are Revelations Jews, which is a term I'd never heard before. And I had just visited with my pastor who went to seminary, who has master's degrees, who can read and write and speak in Hebrew, a guy that I respect very much, who tells me the Bible tells us to support Israel. So I can tell you who I'm going to believe when it comes to what we ought to do as Christians. I'm going to believe my pastor, and I'm going to believe the way I was grown up. But it surprises me how quickly there are so many people that I don't know if they're getting it from podcasts. I don't know if they're getting it online. I don't know if they're just being misled, but they think that even our obligations as Christians are to abandon Israel. And they would tell me, oh, well, they're spitting at Christians over there and you know, beating Christians over there. And I told them, guys, I was there. You know, I walked through the Church of the Holy Sepulchre and did all this. None of that was happening. I just don't understand where they're getting it. But that's whenever I was told, where you just saw a propaganda trip. You were led on the tour that you were supposed to lead. It's all silly, Lindsey. And it did surprise me.
Yeah, and look, I'll add that, you know, we got to, like I said earlier, talk to opposition party members. We got to talk to Palestinian Muslims who had a very different perspective. You know, my trip was a different trip than Jeremy's, but I had very much the same experience in which that I didn't feel like anybody was trying to force me to think a certain way.
They weren't trying to buy you out.
Yeah. I mean,
absolutely.
You know, I'm not saying I don't have a price, but it's high. It's a joke. So. No, look, I thought it was an eye-opening trip and that I got to experience what they get to experience. I got to hear their frustrations from all angles, including, like I said, Palestinians. As a Christian, it was a very cool trip because, you know, there are stories that you grow up learning as a child And in your mind, it's almost like, oh, these things are so far apart from each other. And Israel's a very, very small country. I mean, it's the size of Maryland.
I can't imagine knowing them walking where Jesus walked.
So
That
yeah, I
had to
mean,
be incredible.
we walked on a road that had just recently been excavated from the Temple Mount down to the Pool of Siloam, which is where Jesus healed the blind man. And like, the guy had said Jesus would have walked on this road, and that's a cool experience. And you go to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre that Jeremy mentioned, and it's where they believe Golgotha was, which is the hill that the cross would have been on. There is an anointing table there, which is where they think the anointing of Christ would have happened after he was crucified. And then there is what they believe to be the remnants of the tomb where he would have been buried. And so that is definitely a powerful experience as a Christian. That said, I think there is theological divide about the importance of Israel, even within the Christian church. It doesn't make it any less special to know that you're where Jesus was. I think there's a lot of secular reasons for America to care about what happens in Israel. And we've touched on some of those, whether it be trade or military. One of those reasons, too, is that all the same groups that want to kill Israel also want to kill America.
Right.
And it's not just because America supports Israel. It's because for those Islamic extremists, the only way to restore the caliphate is to destroy Western thought, which is why you see the sort of mass immigration into Europe, is they're trying to destroy Western thought. And I think at some level, you've got to realize that they don't like democracy. They like theocracy. They don't like America's system of economics, right? It is completely antithetical to the way that they think about things. And so they very much want to destroy America and Western civilization and thought. And Israel is kind of a doorstop in the way. But make no mistake, it's not just Israel that they want. And so I think it's really important for people to understand that as they internalize this. I will say, though, that my reaction that I got was overwhelmingly positive from people who got it. I had a couple of people who left negative comments, and unlike Jeremy, because I'm not a politician, I just told him to quit being an asshole, and that was the end of that conversation. So, I think at some level, the way to deal with these situations where you see rising anti-Semitism on the right, and you see sort of this Marxism that would lead people to support terrorism on the left, the way to handle it is by calling out BS. And you call out BS with facts. The fact is that the Jewish people have 3,800 years of ancestral connection to the land of Israel, right? And there's been exile, and there's been conquerings, and there's been returns, but there is a strong history there. It's in America's interest for there to be an Israeli state. And candidly, they've got as much right to the land as anybody else. If you talk about Palestinian Arabs as an example, well, I mean, Islam wasn't created until the year 600 plus after the death of Christ. It is the new kid on the block of the three religions that claim Israel as some of their ancestral tradition. Judaism has 3,800 years of connection to that land versus 1,400 years of connection to that land. It's not as simple as saying the group that was there last ultimately gets to decide. At some level, the people that are living there now and who have lived there for the last 80 years have the right to exist, and it is in our interest for them to exist as a democracy.
Right. And in the break, we were talking about, that's kind of to piggyback off of that. That's why we do fund. That's why we do send funds to Israel. And you were saying that you kind of wanted to get into that and how much we actually send, because I think that's confusing to people.
So the U.S. now has a budget which is way too big, of close to $7 trillion a year that we're
Jeremy,
spending.
can you work on that?
Yeah. And about $4 billion, a little under $4 billion of that is spent technically on aid to Israel. What is important? So that's, if you're looking at the big grand scheme of things, $4 billion is a lot of money, a drop in the bucket relative to $7 trillion. The other part of that to understand is that those are not dollars that just get sent to Benjamin Netanyahu. Those are dollars that get sent to American military companies who build American military equipment using American labor, who then send that equipment to Israel, candidly, to test out. So as an example, the F-35 jet, which America has been working on, Israel has had a test run to figure out whether or not it works without putting American pilots' lives in jeopardy. And what we know, look at Iran, is that it works, right? So to the extent we are, quote unquote, funding Israel, we're really funding American manufacturers, and we're really getting the benefit of testing that equipment out in a region that is in the national interest or security interest of America without putting American lives on the line. Tucker Carlson was absolutely wrong about Iran. Remember, he said we're going to start World War III. What we did was neuter a malevolent force. And we did it without putting a single American life on the line. And by the way, I think both President Trump and Vice President Vance would call that America first.
I agree. And Jeremy, I know you're a Mississippi legislator. You're not obviously in Congress where they choose, they vote on how much or what we send and to where. But what are your thoughts on that, the funding that we do send to Israel?
Yeah, let me first say I haven't heard anybody say neuter the malevolent force since I read my marriage certificate. So that's the last time I saw that. But but look, so in Mississippi, it works. So it's a good thing to do. Work well. So as far as Mississippi is concerned, pretty much all of ours, other than our taxpayer dollars that go to the federal government and go over there, we benefit tremendously from it. I want to see more trade with Israel come in, and there's opportunities for that. In Columbus, we've got Stark Industries, and they build components of the missiles that actually operate in the Iron Dome that help protect Israelis over there. And they're looking to expand that. They have to expand it because they're having to deal with a war over there. One of the places they're looking is right here in Mississippi. Our technology and our cell phones, our shipyards work with them a lot. We've got companies like Ocean Aero that builds autonomous craft, drones essentially that can float on top of the water and go submersible. It's a great technology, and it's being used by a lot of the countries over there that are doing things like that. So we're benefiting because these are high paying jobs, Lindsey. These are big things that are helping Mississippians out tremendously. And so when I hear people argue, oh, well, you're supposed to be America first, we don't want to do that. I want to ask them, do you want us to send these jobs somewhere else? Do you want me to tell the hardworking Mississippians that, look, we're sorry, we hope you've enjoyed your paycheck, but we're cutting all ties with Israel and we're not going to do any of this anymore. That's just that's not smart. It's not smart economically, but it's not smart for the people of Mississippi. And I'll say this, and I know that a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I'll get attacked either way. So I'm going to say it. I think if we don't have somebody like America step up in this global system that we have now, where you can go to London and attend an afternoon meeting and come right back home, where things are just so much closer. If we don't have a country with a moral compass like America has, and I know we're not always perfect, but we do try to do the right thing, and we do believe in things in like the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. If we're not the hegemon that's going to step out and make sure that the world stays in line, you're going to have somebody like China or Iran do that. And once they wipe Israel off the map, which they would like to do, we're going to be the next target as soon as they make their way through the rest of the world. And to not believe that and not see that would just be almost suicidal for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we got to take our last break. Y'all stay with us. We will be right back here with Senator Jeremy England and Russ Latino.
Keep it tuned here to 103.9 WYAB.
I'm speaking with Lee Bounds of Rapid Rate Mortgage. Why is Rita Jensen the type of real estate professional you are looking for?
As a mortgage professional, I look for making transactions easier, and Rita Jensen with Remax Connection is a prime example of that. Her attention to detail, her strong communication skills really help us as a mortgage company make everything smooth from start contract to close. She helps me.
RitaJensen.net.
Grizz Nation, Monday night features a big game matchup at FedEx Forum in Memphis as Jaren Jackson Jr. and your Memphis Grizzlies host Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. Catch it in person this Monday, November 23rd at 7 p.m. Get your tickets today, available online at grizzlies.com/tickets or in person at the FedEx Forum box office.
Looking for farm fresh produce, high quality local beef, dairy, and desserts? Look no further than the Farm Store in Flora. We've got the sweetest, juiciest fruits and vibrant vegetables from Two Dog Farms, plus premium beef, all from right here in the community. Whether you're cooking up a feast or just grabbing a healthy snack, The Farm Store has got you covered. Freshness you can taste, prices you'll love. Find us on Facebook at The Farm Store by Two Dog Farm.
Looking to elevate your ride? Weston Automotive and Rick's Pro Truck have you covered. From rugged bumpers to sleek step bars, Weston's top-notch accessories will transform your truck into a head turner. And at Rick's Pro Truck, we specialize in custom installations that bring your vision to life. Visit us today for expert advice and unbeatable deals. Weston Automotive and Rick's Pro Truck, where your truck's potential comes alive. Weston and RPT. Trucks live here.
At Sunkissed Tan and Wellness on Highway 49 in Flora, we specialize in providing exclusive tanning services and premium beauty products tailored for women. Our mission at Sunkissed is to enhance your natural beauty, offer expert advice, and create a personalized experience. At Sunkissed Tan and Wellness, step into our oasis and let us illuminate your beauty. Ask about our membership program. Find us on Facebook at Sunkissed Tan and Wellness or online at sunkissedtanandwellness.org.
Here's a word from John White, the owner of Two Gun Tactical in Flowood and Ridgeland.
I carry a gun every day, all the time. Last year in America, 2 million legal guns were pulled and it stopped the threat. So I'm really wearing a firearm just to stop the threat. There's more likelihood of me just pulling it and not using it than there is using it. TwoGunTactical.com, TwoGunTactical.com.
Two Gun Tactical, the South's only country club.
It can be hard to move past the guilt, times of weakness and regret, knowing you weren't there for your family when they needed you the most. But there is life after addiction. We're seeing broken families restored, one man at a time, through our vehicle, cash, and thrift store donations. It's given Mercy House Adult and Teen Challenge the ability to help these men succeed in having better lives. Donate a vehicle, running or not, and we'll come pick it up. Call today, 601-572-7296, or visit us at vehicledonationsms.com.
Come check us out at Planter Supply in the heart of downtown Bentonia. Not only are we here to cover all of your food plot needs, but you will find that we're fully stocked with a variety of ammo and other hunting necessities, including feeders, cameras, and climbing stands. Your pet's health is important to us as well. We have a wide array of animal health products and accessories, along with the highest quality feed for your livestock and pets. So come check us out at Planter Supply in the heart of downtown Bentonia, or give us a call at 662-755-8782.
Come together.
We literally have about 10 seconds left. I just want to say thank you guys so much for coming on. I wish we had more time. We could talk about this all day. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsey.